All right, so all right, so let's okay. All right, so the last class we'll be talking about in this series is called the sealed class. A sealed class allows for more control during inheritance. It forces a single type from a limited set known at compile time, which is called restricted hierarchies. Sealed classes restrict the ability to create subclasses. So let's create a sealed class. Let's do new and then Kotlin class filed, and we'll call this booking. And then we'll go down and select sealed class, and boom, we now have a sealed class. Now, a sealed class cannot be instantiated, and it's abstract by itself. Constructors in a sealed class is private by default. It cannot be open, which I mean can be overridden, or not overridden, but there is no properties to override or methods, and it can either be protected or private, so it's not public. The subclasses of a sealed class, if you want subclasses, must be in the same file. So let's create another class called owner, and this is going to be within the same file because we want to make it a subclass of booking. Make a value of ID. It's gonna be int. As a plane passes by my house, you're gonna hear that a lot during this series. But then it's gonna be booking because we're inheriting from it. Then we're gonna make another class called resident. And this is also gonna be a subclass, so it has to be within this class. And I want the name and the room number. It's gonna be int. And it's gonna inherit from booking. And now we're gonna make an object for non-residents. So guest. And this is gonna inherit from booking. Alright, so a sealed class really shines when we start using when expressions. Because of the restrictions set by a sealed class, we know what to expect when we use a when expression with a sealed type. The compiler will get angry if a parameter not handled by the when is added. So with a sealed class, we should know what to expect because of the restrictions, especially with everything by default being private and protected. So let's make a when expression. So let's call it fun, and let's call it front desk. And E with the type booking. And we're gonna make it return an int where that wants to return the ID or room number based on the booking. So if we have an instance of owner residence, we can return the ID of the owner, or we can return the residence room number. And if it's a yes, then we'll just throw like 0, meaning that they're a non-resident or they're not even the owner of the establishment. So let's do that. Let's create a when, and we're going to take in the value from the function, and we're going to open up this when expression, and it's going to be if it is owner, then we can return e.id because that is the value that we're passing into owner, so we should have an instance of that, because if it is of type owner, then e will be able to retrieve the ID. And is resident, it is a type of resident, so because we have an instance of room number, we can do e.room number. Then the last type of booking that we have is non-resident. And before I do that, let me just erase that. What's the error I was saying besides this? Yeah, see, look, it says one expression must be exhaustive. Add necessary non-resident branch or else branch. So it gives us the option whether we want to use else or we want to use all the possibilities of booking. because everything has to be within this class, so it knows exactly what needs to be used. It doesn't expect any outside influences, because anything that inherits from booking has to be within this class. There's so many restrictions with the subclass, so that's where this really shines. So now for the final case, is non-resident. If it is non-resident, then we'll just return 0. So now when is not angry, because we don't even need an else, because we exhausted all possibilities of this expression. So now when the front desk passes in the booking type, it will check whether it's the owner. If it's the owner, it returns the ID. If it's the resident, then it'll return the room number of the resident. And let me remove this comma. And if it's a non-resident, then we just return 0. They're just a guest. So this is a sealed class. If you want things to be restrictive, no constructor or primary constructor, you can still have a constructor, but it's going to be protected or private. And you want to use, let me take this other comma out. It's a habit. But if you want to have a specific or restricted class, this is perfect. Of specific types and subclasses, that's going to be all within one class. So hope you guys enjoyed that.